Hello guys, welcome back to our channel and welcome back for another lecture in the subject matter human behavior and victimology. As a continuation for the previous lecture that we conducted, ang pag-uusapan naman natin ngayon is the part 2 of that lecture, which is the types of abnormal behavior. Okay, so if you haven't watched our previous lecture yet, kindly watch it first before proceeding to this lecture. By the way, I have prepared the module for this session. So if you wish to read it before you listen to this discussion, just click on the description of this video and download the module that I had prepared. But if you wish to listen first and then download it later, pwede naman. Okay? So, ang pag-uusapan natin sa araw na ito ay yung tinatawag nating types of abnormal behavior. Although napapayawan na natin yung topic na ito, but then as I've stated, mahaba yung topic na ito. That's why it deserves a separate lecture. Okay? So, let us first define yung tinatawag nating abnormal behavior. Ano nga ba yung tinatawag nating abnormal behavior? Abnormal behavior is simply defined as a certain behavior that fails to meet the standard behavior of the society. So, anumang pag-uugali na taliwas doon sa standard behavior, kumbaga yung socially acceptable behavior na in-establish ng isang society, yun ay tatawagin nating abnormal behavior. Halimbawa, ang abnormal behavior kasi it's a certain group na it's different types of behavior in many terms. So pwedeng yung behavior natin is focused doon sa tinatawag nating socializing, no? Ano ba yung karaniwang katanggap-tanggap na pag-uugali when it comes to socializing? So those are the things na yung mga katanggap-tanggap, then that is normal behavior. So socializing, for example, no? Nakaugalian natin na tayo ay nakikipag-interact sa ating community, nakikipag-usap sa sa mga tao na nakakasalamuhan natin into our society. But if you have this type of behavior na hindi ganoon, taliwas siya kumbaga doon sa sinasabi nating socially acceptable, no? Then the society will label that as an abnormal behavior. 'Di ba sometimes nile-label tayo kung meron tayong medyo kakaibang ginagawa, no? Kakaibang ritual. I mean ritual in the sense na tayo lang ang kumbaga nagpa-practice nito sa sarili nating kadahilanan na hindi naman nila maintindihan, then they will label us as an abnormal person. So ganun din itong tinatawag nating abnormal behavior. So if you wish, no, kung ikaw ay kabilang doon sa ah, maliit na porsyento ng mga taong hindi mahilig makisalamuha, hindi mahilig makipag-usap sa mga tao, then your behavior will be labeled as an abnormal behavior in comparison to that of the normal behavior. Okay? But what I'm pointing here is that hindi naman porket na label na yung behavior mo is an abnormal behavior, then definitely that is a bad behavior. Depende rin yan. Kung hindi naman nagfo-fall into crime yung abnormal behavior mo, no, yung kakaibang ugali mo, then definitely that um, there's no issue, no, on that behavior. So kung ako, halimbawa ay hindi lang ako mahilig makipag-usap, makisalamuha sa maraming tao, as long as I'm not committing a certain crime, then there's nothing wrong with my behavior. Although it is somewhat taliwas doon sa katanggap-tanggap na behavior natin, no? I would like to point it out also that when a certain behavior is labeled as abnormal behavior, it is not necessarily it's not necessarily evil or bad, no? Meron lang kasi yung tinatawag nating kakaiba, no, na kailangan din nating tanggapin because it's part of the society. Rather than calling it abnormal, maybe sabihin na lang siguro natin that that is the uh, behavior of the minority, no? But clearly, yung definition na pino-point out natin dito when we talk about abnormal behavior are those pag sinabi nating socially unacceptable, ibig sabihin they are labeled as evil and they are labeled as bad, no? Or they are labeled as a certain crime. Okay? So papasok na diyan yung mga different types of crime natin, like for example pagnanakaw, no, pagpatay, panggagahasa, ito na yung mga tinatawag nating criminal behavior, no? And those acts are definitely considered as an abnormal behavior onto its darkest side. Okay? So we have here the different standard behavior that we should look upon. Kung may problema ang isang tao when it comes to socializing, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to goal setting, when it comes to relationship, sexual behavior, dito natin pwedeng i-assess kung yung isang behavior nga ba ay masasabi nating abnormal. So, socializing, nasabi na natin yan. What about decision making kaya? Sa pag-decide of a certain um, thing, no? Before you do a certain act, dadaan muna yan sa careful decision making natin. Paano nga ba tayo mag-decide na the majority, no? The normal way of deciding, 'di ba? We are weighing yung tinatawag nating risk and uh, pleasure na pwede nating makuha in a certain act bago natin gawin. So if a certain person do not conform with this way of thinking, no, before deciding a certain thing, then definitely that would be labeled again as an abnormal behavior. Goal setting, no? Ano nga ba yung mga goals natin? So we have standard goals also, no? So kung ikaw meron kang kakaibang goal, no, which is not really like something that is normal, no? So usually ang pangarap ng isang tao makapag maka-establish ng sariling pamilya, makapag-provide ng needs ng magiging pamilya niya or ng pamilya niya ngayon and so on. Yun yung common goals na tinatawag natin. Pero kung merong isang tao na kakaiba yung kanyang pangarap, like ano nga ba ang pinaka-weird, nakakaibang pangarap na narinig niyo na, 'no? So anything that will not conform to the social standard will definitely be labeled as an abnormal behavior, no? And when it comes to relationship also, no? So what is accepted as ano yung accepted relationship ng society? So we have heterosexual relationship. So again, if does not conform, if your sexual preference does not conform with the social standard, no, the definitely so matatawag na naman yan na abnormal behavior. This is no offense to the LGBTQ community, ano? I'm just discussing how they define an abnormal behavior. So sabi ko nga, it does not mean that if your behavior is considered to be the minority or considered to be socially unaccepted, it does not automatically mean that that is already an evil thing. It depends. If it violates a certain law, then I think that is already yung limitation ng sinasabi ko ngayon. So if it will be labeled as uh, as evil, as a crime, then uh, yun na yung doon na papasok yung negative labeling natin ng abnormal behavior. Such as for example, you prefer to have a relationship, whether that's emotional or sexual preference, no, to animals, then definitely that's already considered as unacceptable, and perhaps that is already considered as a crime, I believe, no? And nasabi na rin natin yung sexual behavior, na yung sexual preference. So again, sexual preference is usually heterosexual, no? Lalaki sa babae and then babae sa lalaki. But there are some other individuals who have uh, a different sexual preference. Iba naman yung kanilang trip or iba naman yung kanilang gusto. Okay? So I hope the definition of abnormal behavior is clear. Now, when it comes to behavior, kung hindi yan socially acceptable, then they will label at that as an abnormal behavior. Okay? So let us proceed to the causes of abnormal behavior. No? Ano nga ba yung mga dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng abnormal behavior ang isang tao? So we have here at least three. It can be either natural or by nature itself or biological. No? Meron kasi yung talagang predisposed yung isang tao na magkaroon ng ganong behavior. No? Nasa kanyang genes. Kumbaga, yung ganong behavior niya. So that's part of the natural na causation na kung saan uh, biologically predisposed yung tao to have that certain type of behavior. So it's either it can be blamed to faulty genetics and uh, breeding. Okay? We have also yung tinatawag nating environmental causation. Under environmental causation, pwedeng papasok dito yung mga learned abnormal behavior. No? So, ang isang tao, pwedeng ipinanganak yan na wala namang mga traits or biological predisposition para magkaroon siya ng tinatawag nating abnormal behavior. However, as he is growing, no? As he is having this different interaction to his immediate environment, nade-develop niya ngayon yung kanyang abnormal behavior. Sabi ko nga, pwedeng natutunan yan or hindi naman kaya is pwede ring pumasok dito yung mga cases wherein due to accidents, nagkakaroon ng damage, especially to the brain, which causes na ngayon yung ibang kinikilos ng isang tao. And those are all part of the environmental causation. Kung ang tao hindi pinanganak na merong biological predisposition to abnormal behavior, pwedeng nakuha niya yan sa kanyang immediate environment. Natutunan or hindi naman kaya it was caused by some accidents na kung saan nagkaroon ng damage sa kanyang sa utak niya, which causes him now to display yung mga tinatawag nating abnormal behavior. Or pwede rin yan yung tinatawag nating impose, no? Paano? Through the use of different substances. Pwede rin kasing ang isang tao ma-overdose sa drugs, like for example, he is a user. No? Pag sinabi nating user, the drug user, illegal drug user. So kakagamit niya ng drugs, nagkaroon na ngayon ng defect, nagkaroon na ng problema, disorder sa kanyang utak, which causes him now to display again an abnormal behavior. Hindi lang drugs, we have alcohols and maybe other types of substances na pag napasobra medyo may masamang epekto sa pag-iisip or sa pag-ugali ng isang tao. So that's part of the imposed causes of abnormal behavior. Okay, so those are the three so far that I have included in this lecture. It's either natural born or hindi naman kaya is learned behavior o di naman kaya is imposed. Okay, so we have here the different types of abnormal behavior. Medyo marami-rami ito. We had an overview already with regards to this on our past lecture. So we have yung tinatawag nating personality disorder. Ano nga ba yung personality disorder? Malalaman natin yan mamaya. We have also neurosis. Meron din yung tinatawag nating hysteria. We have psychastenia and we have psychoses and sexual deviancy. I separated sexual deviancy again. No? Separate lecture na naman yan kasi medyo marami yun. So we're just going to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4 types of abnormal behavior. I do believe marami pa kasing mga hindi na-include dito. We only have the general classification of abnormal behavior. So pag-usapan natin sila isa-isa. First, let's talk about the personality disorder. No? Personality disorder is defined as the behavioral disorder that originates during the early development process that leads to maladaptive behavior. No? So, yung personality disorder natin are not really biological in nature. They're more uh, they're commonly actually learned behavior, no? So nabasa naman natin under its definition that it states there that this behavior usually displays, no, uh, during the early development process, doon sa habang lumalaki pa lang yung bata, ina-develop niya na yung tinatawag nating personality disorder. Pag sinabi nating personality disorder, it does not really means that the person has psychosis or baliw, na meron lang siyang tinatawag nating abnormal behavior. But that does not make him crazy or so. So we don't use the word crazy kasi nga it's socially stigmatizing, and I think it will not benefit yung mga nagsasuffer na ganito. The common problem that we have here in our country is that we're not open to all of this, no? Pag sinabi nating merong personality disorder yung isang tao, parang medyo masama yung tingin natin or iniisip natin na baliw yung isang tao, which is actually wrong. Kasi the more na tinatago, the more na hindi naging open yung isang tao with regards to this behavioral disorder, the more problematic it becomes, no? Kasi nga imbes na magamot siya agad or imbes na masolusyonan agad yung kung anumang behavior yan, hindi, napapabayaan kaya nagkakaroon lumalala, which later on will cause them to commit probably yung tinatawag nating mga crime. Okay? So I think that's one of the problem that we have. We are not really aware that much aware with regards to the different personality disorder. So pag merong kakaibang kinikilos yung isang tao, we don't really look into it, and we don't really uh, try to sympathize with their situation. That's why sinasabi ko na nga that we must take this seriously, and we must take these situations. If may mga kakilala tayong nagsasuffer ng mga ganito, then we should take this sympathetically. We should sympathize with their situation, and we should do our best to help them out. Okay? So we have here the different personality disorder. First dyan, yung tinatawag nating passive aggressive disorder. What is passive aggressive disorder, by the way? So passive aggressive disorder is characterized by a pattern of hostility and avoidance of direct communication or interaction. Ito yung mga tao na kung saan kumbaga they are very passive when it comes to uh, interaction, ano? Sila yung hindi mo maaasahan na magpakita ng sympathy, na sympathy sa isang tao, sa isang situation, or so on. So, like for example, um, pwede natin sabihin they are emotionless, na? Pwede rin natin sabihin that they are just really that stubborn. Imbes na mag-comply sila. So, let's say for example, it is expected that everyone should behave, then sila yung hindi nagbe-behave, na? Meron silang sobrang katigasan ng ulo. Kumbaga, they don't value the rules and the social standard much. Okay? So, isipin mo na lang halimbawa na kung saan is uh, everyone is very sad, da? Sobrang lungkot, either may nawala na close sa kanila, or merong napahamak na kakilala nila na close sa kanila, and all of them should display sympathy, di ba? Kumbaga magpakita sila ng pakikiramay, pakikisimpatya sa isang situation. And this person who have this type of disorder will show nothing, no? Kumbaga hindi sila nagdi-display ng pagkalungkot, pagkaawa in that certain situation. Kumbaga they're just remaining passive, emotionless, no? Or hindi naman kaya is yun nga yung tinatawag nating direct communication. Uh, at specific portion, at specific situation, kumbaga is everyone should be expected na mag-comply. Everyone should be expected na mag-behave kasi yun yung hinihingi ng sitwasyon. But instead of behaving, instead of complying, they tend to disobey, uh, characterized by their extreme stubbornness. So they have that passive aggressive disorder. Okay. So next to that, we have the hysterical personality disorder. Some other references called it the histrionic personality disorder. Ano naman yung tinatawag nating hysterical personality disorder? No? The word hysterical itself, ano, I do hope na meron na kayong nakuhang idea kasi I do believe we are using the term hysterical loosely, no? Karaniwan, pag may nakita tayong OA, sobra mag-react, tinatawag nating hysterical. So what really is hysterical personality disorder? Ang behavior na ito is characterized by extreme attention-seeking tendencies. No? Attention-seeking tendencies of one person. In our term, pwede natin silang tawagin na sila yung mga sobrang mahilig magpapansin. But then again, there's nothing wrong with this. Ano, sabi nga natin, this is a personality disorder. No? So, instead siguro na maasar ka sa mga ganong tao, you rather sympathize with him or her because that's a personality disorder. Hindi naman nila kagustuhan yun. Talagang that is just how they became. No? So, those person who suffers hysterical personality disorder has that desire to seek for attention, no? And yung tendencies or yung symptoms nito mapapansin na natin even as early as their childhood day, no? Habang bata pa sila, medyo napapansin na natin, mapapansin na natin kung merong ganitong personality disorder yung isang tao kasi um, ayun, halimbawa ang isang bata sobrang gustong magpapansin, mangagaw ng atensyon ng mga tao, gusto niyang siya lang lagi yung focus ng attention, then pwede na nating sabihin, okay, so there's something wrong with this. Probably meron siyang tinatawag nating hysterical personality disorder. But ang masama lang nito is that sometimes yung yung attention-seeking tendencies ng isang tao is mostly dinedirect nila into yung tinatawag dating seductive behavior, ano? So, pag medyo seductive yung behavior ng isang bata, then definitely that's one of the symptoms of hysterical personality disorder. Yung seductive tendencies nila is they are using that, no, to catch more attention. Kasi nga, ang pinaka-end goal dito is to seek attention. And even though they're using already yung nang seseduct na sila para lang makakuha ng attention, definitely we should look into this already kasi nga that has the tendency to cause more complex things that will happen, probably unfortunate things that will happen kung hindi natin maagapan agad. So that's really the types of behavior that they're displaying yung mga merong hysterical personality disorder. Attention seeking, and sometimes they display yung seductive behavior, and the end goal of seduction is to seek attention. Okay? So we also have here yung tinatawag nating compulsive personality disorder. Na ano naman yung compulsive personality disorder? It is defined or characterized by an excessive need for orderliness, neatness, and perfectionism. So the problem to this is that the symptoms for this does not usually appear until near adulthood, hanggang malapit na silang mag-mature. So yung characteristic ng ng taong merong compulsive personality disorder is yung strict obedience nila and yung need nila for orderliness, no? To the point that sometimes it already interferes with the normal functioning, ano? So, halimbawa yung isang tao na maghuhugas lang ng kamay, kailangang 10 times niyang gawin. So, meron siyang excessive desire for maybe cleanliness, no? Kasi nga washing his hands for one time only seems like not enough. Kumbaga sa kanya siguro hindi pa yun sapat upang malinisan ng husto yung kanyang kamay. So those are just example, marami pa actually yan. Halimbawa is, kung napansin niyo siguro, I don't know if you have noticed yung mga siguro may naging kaklase kayo na sobrang ah, may compulsion siya when it comes to writing, na halimbawa meron silang pinapagawang writing activity, and then magkamali lang siya ng isang letter, uulitin niya na naman, no? And it will become a problem kasi nga hangga't hindi niya na-perfect yung way of yung gusto niyang mangyari or gusto niyang isulat or gusto niyang itsura ng kanyang ng kanyang sulat, uh, he will repeat and repeat and repeat the process again and again to the point that probably mamiss mo na yung deadline, no? Dahil sa kauulit hindi ka na nakapag-pass kasi nga hindi mo na perfect. So sometimes it becomes a problem now, no? Yung mga merong ganito, and hindi nga dapat natin tawanan itong mga ito kasi it is a personality disorder, no? They don't want that to happen, but then ang mangyayari kasi dito usually all of the other types of disorder, pag hindi nila nasunod yung routine or ritual nila, it will cause them anxiety and it will put them into so much stress. So kailangan nilang sumunod whether gusto nila or hindi, no? So that's with regards to compulsive personality disorder, na talagang meron silang sinusunod na routine, meron silang sinusunod na process, and kailangang masunod yun sa ayaw nila at sa hindi. And we have also yung tinatawag nating paranoid personality disorder. What about paranoid personality disorder? Ang behavior na ito is characterized by irrational suspicion, mapagsuspetsa. They usually generally mistrust everyone. Lahat ng tingin nila or lahat ng tao sa tingin nila ay nagbabalak sa kanila ng masama or may sinasabi sa kanila na laban sa kanila na masama, and so on. So meron yung mga ganyang tao na kung saan kahit wala kang sinasabi, wala kang ginagawa, parang pinagsususpetsahan kanya na kumbaga ay meron kang binabalak sa kanya na masama, no? So the same thing, instead of criticizing or ostracizing those individuals who suffers from these types of personality disorder, why not we sympathize with them, because definitely it's hard to deal with this type of behavior, no? Yung tinatawag nating um, paranoid personality disorder, from the term paranoid itself, sobra siyang mag-isip, sobra siyang magduda, and most of those suspicion are really, they are really irrational. Okay? Madali rin silang mainsulto, and they are really vigilant sa kanilang paligid kasi they're looking into confirmation kung tama nga ba talaga yung iniisip nila. Halimbawa, nakita ka lang na nagsasalita, tumatawa, ang iisipin niya agad is siya yung tinatawanan mo. So if that happens every time to a certain person, na kahit hindi naman siya yung pinag-uusapan nyo, may nasasabi siyang masama or pinagdududahan kayo kahit wala naman kayo masamang ginagawa laban sa kanya, then probably that person is suffering from tinatawag nating paranoid personality disorder. Okay? So those are the types of personality disorder. If there are things that I have failed to add in this, kindly include some, no? Baka meron pa akong hindi nabanggit dito. We're open for any additional inputs. Okay, let's proceed to neurosis. Neurosis. How do we define neurosis? It is defined as the disorder that causes a person afflicted with it, no, poses difficulties in adapting to his environment. So these types of person really has a difficulties na i-adapt or mag-adapt sa environment na ginagalawan nila, which oftentimes causes them to have this antisocial personality, or literally yung mga tinatawag nating antisocial behavior or abnormal behavior itself, no? So they have difficulties when it comes to adaptation to the environment and conforming to the society, even to the point of changing their life in order to conform with the socially approved behavior. So yung mga taong nahihirapang mag-adapt sa kanilang society, which really, kasi a person might find it hard to adapt or conform to the society, but sooner or later matututunan niya din, then definitely that's not neurosis. Pag sinabi natin neurosis, no matter how much he tried to do so, hindi talaga pwede kasi it will put him into anxiety, stress, and so on kung pipilitin niyang mag-adapt. So we have here the different types of neurosis. Actually, we just have one here. We have hysteria, no? Hysteria, if you're familiar again with that, hysterical. So hysteria is somewhat like a behavior na kung saan is this is commonly observed on women. It is characterized by uncontrollable bursts of emotion, no? Na kung saan is either paggalit siya, sobrang galit naman, pag masaya siya, sobrang saya. Kumbaga is sobra-sobra yung kanyang emotion na dinidisplay, no? Kanina, masaya siya, sobra yung tuwa niya. Pero nung nagalit na, sobrang galit naman yung dinidisplay niya. So that's hysteria, no? Um, I mentioned that this is commonly observed in among women, but however, in the medical community kasi they are rejecting the relationship of gender to this disorder, Rather, they believe that hysteria is caused by other organic disease or disorder, yung mga observable or yung mga medically acceptable illnesses yung nagko-cause ng tinatawag nating hysteria, no? So we have here the form of hysteria. We have amnesia. Yung amnesia is a disorder wherein the individual afflicted with it cannot recall his or her name or remembers little or nothing about the past life of a certain person, of his past life rather. So yung because of extreme bursts of emotion, either sobrang nalungkot siya, no, nagkaroon siya ngayon ng tinatawag nating amnesia, no, or hindi naman kaya is because of extreme fear, kasi that's still an emotion, may nangyari sa kanya na kung saan hindi kinaya ng kanyang utak ang emotion na dinidisplay niya, then later on nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating amnesia. So usually this is caused by traumatic experience also. Or hindi naman kaya, if not traumatic experience, yung mga injuries that has affected directly the brain, so that can cause also yung tinatawag nating amnesia, o yung totally nakalimutan niya yung uh, nakalimutan niya yung sarili niya, yung information about him or about a certain event. Okay? Actually, we have different types of amnesia. I was not able to list it, so we have here the different types of amnesia. Yung tinatawag nating anterograde amnesia, wherein yung hindi maalala ng taong nagsasuffer ng amnesia is yung mga information na nakita or nabasa niya. So that's anterograde amnesia. We have the retrograde amnesia, the inability to recall any event, yung mga details or yung mga nangyari sa isang pagkakataon. So when we talk about information, when we talk about things that nabasa or narinig niya, you cannot recall that, tinatawag natin diyan anterograde amnesia. If ang hindi niya maalala is yung mga nangyari, no, before or after a certain event, no, or the exact event itself, hindi niya maalala kung anong nangyari after that, then definitely tinatawag natin yung retrograde amnesia, no? We also have the localized amnesia wherein ang hindi niya lang maalala is yung event or details that are related to a particular situation. So, pwedeng magkaroon kasi ng amnesia wherein naaalala niya yung pangalan niya pero hindi niya na maalala ang tungkol sa saan siya nakatira, ano ang trabaho niya, ano yung kanyang ginagawa sa trabaho niya, and so on. Or pwede rin naman na naaalala niya pa yung mga skills niya, halimbawa yung trabaho niya and so on, pero hindi niya alam yung information about him or about his family or about his loved ones, no? So may mga ganun tayong nakikita na nangyayari sometimes wherein yun nga, again, after a certain traumatic incident, may mga makakalimutan siya na part ng kanyang buhay. Hindi naman totally siguro. If that's total, then definitely yun yung tinatawag nating general amnesia, na lahat-lahat nakalimutan niya. Pero kung a certain event lang, a certain portion of his life lang yung nakalimutan niya, then we can call that as the localized amnesia. We also have another variation of amnesia, yung tinatawag nating fugue. No? Fugue is a type of amnesia wherein one person wanders away uh, from his or her own home, no? Or to his usual surrounding. Kumbaga, uh, naliligaw siya doon sa area, sa kanilang lugar mismo, na parang hindi niya uh, ma-recognize yung place and so on. Then, after that, magkakaroon na lang siya ng recollection kapag bumalik na yung kanyang alaala, or bumalik na yung kanyang awareness, is bigla na lang siyang magugulat kung bakit siya nandoon. So, in other references, nire-relate nila ito yung tinatawag nating deja vu, no? So, they sometimes relate it to deja vu na parang biglang hindi mo maalala kung ba't ka napunta doon, pero parang meron kang slight uh, memories on about that certain thing, pero hindi ka pa naman pumunta doon. So the same thing with regards to fugue, no? Na yung isang tao, halimbawa palakad-lakad lang diyan sa lugar nila, and then later on pag bumalik na yung kanyang awareness, parang magugulat siya. Paano ako napunta dito? Ano ang ginagawa ko dito, or so on. So yun yung usually circumstances ng fugue, which is a types of amnesia wherein it's, I think, just a temporary one, na nabiglang may ginagawa ka pero hindi ka aware about it. Then later on, pag naging aware ka na, parang nagising ka na bigla mo na lang tatanungin kung bakit ka nandoon, paano ka napunta doon, anong ginagawa mo doon, and so on. So that's fugue. We have naman yung tinatawag nating somnambulism, no? Yung somnambulism is different to fugue, kasi sa fugue is he is awake but not aware. Okay, I don't know if that's the proper term. Pero gising siya, no? Pero hindi siya conscious sa kanyang mga ginagawa. Sa somnambulism naman, the person is at a dreamlike state, no? Parang either tulog siya, or parang wala din siya sa sarili niya. Pero let's say tulog siya, kasi usually that's the case with regards to somnambulism, wherein hindi rin siya aware, no? Kumbaga hindi siya, tulog siya, and then naglalakad, no? Pumupunta sa ibang lugar, and then pag nagising na siya, pagkagising niya, bigla na lang siyang magugulat kung anong nangyari, or meron ding instances na kung saan pagkagising niya wala siyang maalala sa kanyang pinagagawa during the attack of somnambulism. Actually, there are cases already that happens na at this state, no, at this state is meron siyang nagawang crime. Okay? Bigla siyang gumising ng gabi, may pinuntahan, may pinatay, then bumalik sa kanyang bahay, natulog ulit, kinabukasan, hinuhuli na siya ng police because of a certain crime. And his defense was that he is at the state of somnambulism, yung sleepwalking na tinatawag. If that's actually the case, in our law, sa batas natin sa Pilipinas, that will be considered as an exempting circumstances, meaning there will be no liability towards that. Kasi nga he is not aware, he is not conscious, walang intelligence and so on. So pwede nating sabihin that he is like uh, a robot that committed a certain act to which he has no awareness about it. So the laws in Philippines decided that that will be considered um, as an exempting circumstances. However, now it's hard to prove that thing. So you need a psychiatrist, you need a psychologist to assist or to assess you if you really has that situation. Yan, may mga taong ganyan. It's very dangerous kasi sometimes there are people who sleepwalk, nag-sleepwalk sila, and then they drive cars, no, nag-drive sila ng kotse at that state, and it's very dangerous, no. And what is more dangerous if yun nga may magawa siyang crime during that state. Okay? So yan yung cases na tinatawag nating somnambulism. It's a type of amnesia din, no? Which are caused by, hysterical personality or yung hysteria na tinatawag. We also have yung personality or multiple personality disorder. Yung multiple personality disorder is a dramatic form of hysteria. No? You probably have watched a movie already or read the book already or a novel already discussing or having the either yung bida or yung kontrabida having this multiple personality disorder na tinatawag. Yung multiple personality disorder is believed that merong different merong ibang katauhan na nagre-reside doon sa consciousness ng isang tao, which is later on nagpapalit-palit siya. This is different from the what we call bipolar, ano? Yung bipolar is just one consciousness. But when it comes to multiple personality, totally magkaibang personality 'yon. Either sa isang tao, kung halimbawa meron siyang dalawang personality, yung isang personality niya is totally different from each other. Halimbawa, yung personality talaga ng taong 'yan is sobrang bait niya. Pero kapag pumapasok yung pangalawang personality niya, medyo iba, malayo doon sa unang personality niya. Halimbawa, palaaway, masamang tao, and so on. So, yun yung tinatawag nating multiple personality. They have that type of personality that really is different from each other. I have read a novel again with regards to this, and um, ganun nga yung scenario. Yung other personality niya is a criminal type. No? Yung pag lumalabas yung isang personality niya, may nagagawang krimen. Kapag naman bumalik na sa yung talagang personality niya, sobrang bait niyang tao. So she was prosecuted to the crime committed by yung alter consciousness niya, yung isang consciousness niya or yung isang personality niya. So with this, I think they discuss the how difficult it is to establish whether or not totoo nga ba yung tinatawag nating multiple personality, because if the case is that uh, totoo nga yung multiple personality, kasi even in the field of psychology, they're divided with regards to this. Hindi sila iisa, united in terms of multiple personality. Not all psychologists believe that we have or they have yung tinatawag nating multiple personality, but some other uh, psychologists do believe na meron ngang tinatawag nating multiple personality. So again, the same thing with regards to somnambulism or other type of personality disorder. This is a type of personality disorder that is very hard to establish, na yung tinatawag nating multiple personality. And I think what causes this on some journals that I've read is traumatic situation. Na if a certain person is faced with the traumatic situation, sometimes kumbaga yung utak niya is yung consciousness niya, because of the hindi niya ma-take yung situation na kinakaharap niya, is yun yung nagko-cause for his consciousness to shut down, and then gagawa ito ng as a part of defense mechanism, is magda-develop ito ng separate personality who can be able to counter yung tinatawag nating situation o yung stimulus na kinakaharap niya. Then later on, magpapalit-palit na lang sila hanggat meron yung personality na yun. It can be triggered by a certain object, no? Or hindi naman kaya, is it can be triggered by a certain situation. Para kumbaga, para palabasin yung isa pang personality niya, is kailangang malaman mo kung ano yung nag-trigger doon. It can be blood, it can be a certain conflict, it can be a certain dangerous situation, and so on. So that's just how some of the literature that I have read with regards to multiple personality. Okay? Okay, let's talk about psychasthenia. No? What about psychasthenia? Psychasthenia is a psychoneurotic condition. It is accompanied by vast range of mental and emotional symptoms that cannot cannot be controlled. So usually dito pumapasok yung tinatawag nating obsession, compulsion, o pwede rin papasok dito yung phobia. These are like these are also types of emotion that uh, are considered to be uncontrollable, no? Hindi makontrol ng tao who is suffering this such, and usually they are irrational also. So let's talk about the forms of psychasthenia para may paliwanag natin mabuti. We have here phobia, no? Phobia is defined as the irrational fear of an object, person, or act or situation. Yung phobia na tinatawag, ito yung meron kang takot sa isang bagay, sa isang tao, sa isang pangyayari. That is considered actually as irrational kasi it does not pose any actual danger, kumbaga, no? Such as for example, yung let's look for examples. We have here yung tinatawag nating arachnophobia, no? Arachnophobia is like the fear of the spiders, no? So fear of spiders. There are definitely poisonous spiders out there. Meron yung mga nakakamatay na poisonous, venomous spider out there. Now, meron yung mga venomous spiders. But then, I think it is very irrational to have fear, to have a fear to all types of spiders. Actually, even if they don't pose any danger, kahit yung sinasawag nating laruan na spider, laruan na gagamba, pag meron siyang arachnophobia, hihimatayin siya or sobrang manginginig siya kapag nakakita siya ng ganun. Sometimes even pictures and so on. So, yun yung tinatawag nating irrational fear. Kasi yes, probably magkakaroon tayo ng fear uh, on spiders. Like for example, everyone, mostly pag Pilipino ka kasi, you are afraid of snakes, no? Regardless if it's venomous or not. Kasi nga I don't think that snakes have a good reputation, especially to us in our country. Although sa ibang country kasi like in Vietnam, Malaysia, and so on, they don't fear them. India, they don't fear them. They consider them sometimes as pet. Pero sa atin, diring-diri or takot na takot tayo sa snake. So despite having this fear, no, which is rational kasi nga talaga namang dapat lang katakutan ang mga ahas. But then if I show to you a picture of a snake, I think hindi ka naman hihimatayin, matatakot or manginginig because that is just a picture. But if you have an irrational fear of a certain species, a certain animal or certain object, even just a picture, no, of that object, hihimatayin ka sa takot. Yun, doon mo malalaman if may phobia ka nga sa isang bagay or wala, no? Na binabanggit pa lang sa iyo yung isang bagay ay parang nanginginig ka na or hindi mo na matake yung pressure na binibigyan nito sa'yo. So, phobia can be learned, no? Pwede kasing matutunan din yan. Like, there are cases na kung saan dahil yung parent mo may phobia of a certain object, then you come to adopt that behavior na pati ikaw ay takot na rin kahit na wala ka namang actual encounter to them. No? Like a certain documentary that I had watched, yung father niya has a phobia sa sa bangkay, no? Meron siyang phobia sa bangkay. And then it turns out na yung anak niya nagkaroon na rin ng phobia sa bangkay, no? But then yung sa kanya I think is can be cured kasi nga learned phobia lang siya dahil nakikita niya yung father niya na takot doon sa object na yon, and nakuha niya or na-adapt niya rin yung behavior na yon. And sometimes they make up stories also kasi yung original person who has that phobia has his reason, usually traumatic experience, like for example sa fear mo sa aso halimbawa, uh, puwedeng nakagat ka ng aso nung ikaw ay bata pa, or naka-witness ka ng isang event na kung saan may isang tao na kinagat ng aso. That's why you develop the fear of dogs, no? Despite kahit anong lahi sila or kahit stuffed toys or pictures lang 'yan, you have that fear already na hindi mo kaya. So if that is your case, so matatawag natin 'yan that that's caused by traumatic experience. So dahil sa takot mo na 'yan, puwede ring ma-adapt ng mga taong nasa paligid mo 'yan. Halimbawa, yung anak mo, 'no, alam niyang takot na takot ka sa aso, 'no, gano'n yung nakikita niya since birth, 'no, hanggang lumaki siya. So parang may encode din sa consciousness niya na parang, okay, takot rin ako sa aso. Without any actual particular reason for it. Kumbaga naa-adapt niya lang yung nakikita niya sa parents niya. So that's phobia, you know? It's not just on animals, it can be on a certain situation, it can be on a certain person, and so on. Meron din yung tinatawag nating obsession, no? Obsession refers to an idea or series of ideas that recurs frequently at the point that they interfere the ability of one person to perform their normal task. This is different to compulsion. Pag sinabi kasi nating obsession, these are ideas, no? Mostly ideas na kung saan is paulit-ulit na pumapasok sa isip ng tao na yan na parang nagsasabi na okay, gawin mo to, gawin mo to. However, they usually come together yung obsession and compulsion. No? Kasi kung meron kang obsession, kumbaga ito yung mga boses na naririnig mo na nagmamandate sa'yo na gawin mo to, kailangan mong gawin to, no? Um, kung hindi mo gagawin to is parang may mangyayaring masama sa'yo. So there are hallucinations coming in hallucinations and delusion coming into the mind of a person having this obsession. Kung meron kang obsession of a certain thing, then definitely you will develop din yung tinatawag nating compulsion. Kasi the compulsion refers to irresistible tendencies to perform an act or ritual, no? Kumbaga, yung obsession is the voice mandating you to do so, to do something, and then yung compulsion mo naman yun yung minamandate ng obsession mo. So, kaya kung mapapansin nyo, they usually come together yung obsession and compulsion, no? Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na obsessive compulsive disorder kasi may boses na nagsasabi sa kanya na gawin mo yung isang bagay, and at the same time, kailangan ding i-perform or gawin ng isang taong yan yung sundin yung boses na naririnig niya. So magkakaroon siya ng compulsion. Bakit hindi niya ma-resist? No? Bakit kaya hindi niya ma-resist? As I've stated, it's hard for them. Those who has this different disorder find it very difficult to disobey. No? Disobey their obsession because it will put them into anxiety and it will put them into much stress. Okay? And yun, yung pwedeng makapag-damage sa kanila mentally. Kasi kung hindi mo kaya yung stress na tinatanggap mo, there are tendencies na bumigay yung utak mo, and then magkaroon tayo ng tinatawag nating schizophrenia or yung total loss of sanity. Okay? So, those are with regard to psychasthenia. Let's proceed to psychosis. What about psychosis? Psychosis refers to a mental disorder characterized by unpredictable behavior. No? Ito na yung total loss of sanity na tinatawag, pagkabaliw. The individuals afflicted with this has unrealistic interpretation of their person and of those persons that around them. No? Pwedeng isipin niya yung sarili niya, siya ay isang superhero. No? Pwedeng isipin niya na siya ay isang Diyos. No? So, meron siyang unrealistic belief about himself, about his true person. Kumbaga, hindi niya nakikita yung sarili niya bilang tao. Rather, nakikita niya yung sarili niya na bilang isang something unrealistic, like superhero, may power siya, ganun. Ito na yung mga nakikita natin na nawalang-wala na sa katinuan na pag-aalagala na diyan, or hindi na nila kilala yung kanilang sarili, or hindi na nila kilala yung mga taong nasa paligid nila. Sometimes they even look yung mga tao sa paligid nila as demons, as angels, or whatsoever. So, psychosis na yung tinatawag natin dyan. Psychosis, yung mga taong merong psychosis have also yung tinatawag nating great mood swings, na kung saan sometimes they're happy, very happy, then later on bigla na lang silang iiyak, or they are suffering from extreme depression. So that's psychosis. We have different classification of psychosis, yung tinatawag nating organic psychosis and functional psychosis. Yung organic psychosis na yan, these are forms of psychosis that has a variety of causes. Pero usually, ang nagkakos ng organic psychosis ay yung mga damage or injury to the brain or other part of the nervous system. No? Na pwedeng nag-suffer siya ng isang accident na kung saan directly tinamaan yung kanyang ulo, na damage yung some part of his brain, and then he will displace now this psychosis na tinatawag. Yes, meron tayong mga nakikitang ganyan, no? Especially motor vehicle accident, nababagok yung kanilang ulo, then later on makarecover sila, but since there is already a damage done to the brain, medyo magiging iba na yung kanilang pag-uugali. Actually, there is this, the first I'm not really sure if this is true, but they firstly observed this scenario na ang consciousness and awareness ng isang tao is directly connected sa brain. When a certain person was accidentally hit, natusok actually yung kanyang mata ng isang tubo at tumagos doon sa kanyang utak, at nakuha ng piece of the brain, no? May naisama or may na-damage na part ng brain ng isang tao. Then they notice, luckily this person survived, na nakasurvive siya despite the damage. Then they notice that biglang nag-iba yung kanyang pag-uugali. So when they conducted the further medical study on this person na natamaan ng na aksidente, na damage yung brain niya, for the first time, they realized that what causes him to behave like that was that of the damage that or injury that was brought to the brain. So they concluded that the brain has something to do with behavior, personality, and the sanity of a certain person. Okay? So organic psychosis, kung ang cause ng pagkabaliw niya is due to injuries or damages done to the brain. We have the functional psychosis naman na tinatawag. Under functional psychosis, ito naman yung walang observable tissue damage. Hindi nabagok yung kanyang ulo, hindi na damage yung kanyang brain, but still he developed yung tinatawag nating psychosis, no? It has no organic basis. The ailments are believed to be a result of years of living under emotional stress, no? Dito papasok yung mga nabaliw dahil sa problema, nabaliw dahil sa pag-ibig, nabaliw dahil sa konsumisyon and so on. So wala namang actual damage doon sa kanilang utak, but rather because of living an emotional into an environment which causes them to have emotional stress for a long time, no? Bumigay yung kanilang utak and then nag-develop na ng tinatawag nating psychosis. Okay? So we have types of functional psychosis. We have the schizophrenic disorder. Yung schizophrenic disorder is a condition wherein because of stress or because of problem, no, biglang nag-withdraw from the reality yung isang tao wherein he is no longer having that emotional distress. Kumbaga bumigay na yung kanyang utak sa lahat ng problemang sinasuffer niya. And this is very naging common na to during this pandemic, uh, claim it or not, whether you agree to me or not, the mental health issue has become really an issue and a mainstream topic already because of this pandemic. Dahil nga sa maraming tao ang nakakulong lang sa bahay, maraming tao ang sobrang dami ng iniisip, like for example, paano kaya yung needs nila, paano yung bills nila. So marami ang mga taong nalagay sa mental health problems or nagkaroon ng mental health uh, problem during this pandemic. And usually, yan nga, makikita natin kung merong mga taong bumigay dahil sa mga stress na ito, then sila yung mga matatawag nating schizophrenic person, no? So they already give up because of problems, because of yung tinatawag nating consumption, bumigay na sila sa reality na kung saan uh, gawa na sila ng sarili nilang fantasy world na kung saan they're free of problem and so on. So that's schizophrenic disorder. We have also yung tinatawag nating affective disorder, no? Affective disorder is a behavior that is characterized by extreme mood swing. Um, they usually the affective disorder usually refers to a set of psychiatric disease. Symptoms may vary to each individual. So, yung tinatawag nating affective disorder, ang titignan lang natin dito is yung extreme mood swing. Na kung saan, pag sinabi nating mood swing, so we have uh, kumbaga is kanina okay lang siya, sobrang okay siya, then later on bigla na naman siyang sobrang lungkot. So that's literally a type of mood swing. And we have types of this affective disorder which is depression, no? Yung depression na tinatawag natin yung a certain disorder in the person suffering from such depression feels yung tinatawag nating extreme hopelessness or sometimes extreme sadness, no? Na kung saan is tumatagal lang yan days or weeks, no? Kasi pag na-prolong pa yan, then definitely that will turn into psychosis, no? So depression yan kung sobrang parang feeling mo down na down ka, feeling mo ang lungkot-lungkot mo, that's depression, no? If you're feeling this way, no, especially during this pandemic, don't wag mo nang hintayin na lumala pa yan. You try to look for remedy to it, no? Try mong kasi depression is deadly, no? Depression is characterized by having yung tinatawag nating suicidal thoughts, no? Pwede ring magkaroon tayo ng irritability or anxiety. Magkakaroon tayo ng prolonged sadness and so on. So yung una pa lang na having that suicidal thoughts, that's already that's already a sign that you should try to look for psychological assistance or kailangan mo na ng tulong pag if you're having that. Have someone na pwede mong makausap and have someone na pwede mong paglabasan ng problema mo kasi mostly ito yung mga sinasuffer ng mga taong masyadong introverted, no? Yung kumbaga wala silang ibang mapaglabasan ng kanilang sama ng loob and so on. So And if it happens then naman na may mga taong nag-open up sa'yo regarding their problems and so on, uh, be sympathetic kasi nga you don't know eh, baka yun na lang yung last remedy nila. There are individuals who really commit suicide because of depression. So it's not a joke, no? Suicide is not a joke and depression is not a joke. So if in case you know someone suffering from this, no, be sympathetic to them, kausapin niyo sila, then try to uplift them, help them out kasi nga it's really dangerous, no? We are lucky kasi we are Filipino, no? Sabi nga natin, tawanan mo ang iyong problema, but not all the time lahat kayang gawin yon. So we should be sympathetic to each other with regards to this. So that's depression. Yung bipolar disorder naman is a state wherein the person experiences alternating periods of depression and periods of mania. So, iba ito sa multiple personality, no? Dito sa bipolar disorder, no? Meron tayong tinatawag ditong shifting of mood and shifting of behavior, no? Na kung saan a certain person may be normal, no? A little while, then later on is bigla na lang or dahil sa isang event na nag-trigger sa kanya, usually pwedeng ang liquor mag-trigger dyan or a certain situation nag-trigger dyan, bigla siyang naging wild na naman. So that's bipolar disorder. No? Anxiety disorder, it's a type of anxiety disorder is characterized by feeling of anxiety, fear, or and nervousness na kung saan usually hindi sila mapakali, they're very anxious, they have irrational fear and so on. So puro negativity na lang yung kanilang naiisip, no? So kung meron kang you know um, pessimistic personality, then definitely meron kang anxiety disorder. Lahat ng nakikita mo, you feel nervous about it, no? You feel afraid about it, no? Pwede kasi itong sa isang object or sa isang event or sa isang tao. Yung stage fright na tinatawag, that is part of the anxiety disorder na kung saan wala namang actual fear. Like for example, so what if you're going to stand in a stage, no, sa harap ng maraming tao? So what will happen? Na wala namang nakakatakot doon literally. But there are those individuals na hindi kayang gawin yon, na talagang literally is they cannot overcome that fear or anxiety. That's why they will collapse, no? Out of fear, out of nervousness, and so on. That is anxiety. That is a good example of anxiety disorder. We have also paranoia, no? Paranoia, this is another type of psychotic reaction, and its major premise is that persons suffering from this display extreme suspicion. So, under paranoia, balikan nyo yung tinatawag nating paranoid, no? Pwede rin dito yung unang diniscuss natin kanina, which if a person suffers from that, then definitely meron din yan, no? Teka. So, kanina pinag-usapan natin yung paranoid personality. They are really the same with regards to this, no? If you have paranoia, yung extreme suspicion, lahat na lang pinagsususpetsahan mo. Lahat na lang ng bagay tingin mo laban sa'yo. That's paranoia. And most of the time that is irrational, no? Na parang kailangan mong palagyan ng CCTV yung lahat ng sulok ng bahay nyo. Why? Because you fear that somebody will attempt to kill you. Kailangan mong mag-hire ng bodyguards kasi you fear that somebody is planning to harm you, no? Kailangan mong laging very vigilant ka sa paligid mo because you fear that may gagawa ng masama sa'yo. Sometimes police officers suffers from this, especially if they have been into war or into a situation that really makes them uh, yun lagi nakakatanggap ng death threat. Well sometimes develop paranoia, na kung saan is kahit wala namang ginagawa yung mga tao sa paligid nila, eh, parang they always think about it na they will harm them, no, in a different way. So paranoia develops usually over times. It does not develop in just, biglaan na lang, but rather they tend to develop over time kasi yung chronic exposure nila to a certain situation, yun yung pwedeng mag-cause sa kanila to be paranoid about things, especially about their life, about their safety, and so on. Okay, so we have also anti-personality disorder, no? Anti-personality disorder is a type of disorder wherein a person having the anti-personality is considered as mentally disturbed, no? Uh, they oppose yung tinatawag nating normal principles and beliefs of the society. Antisocial, no? They don't want to conform with the rules of the society, no? Uh, no matter, even if they try to, it's really impossible for them to conform. Again, if they try to conform, or they pilitin nila yung sarili nilang mag-conform to the social belief, social standards, social principles, it will put them into much stress. That's why they don't. So we have types of antisocial personality. We have sociopath, and we have psychopath. Sociopath, a person who dislike any sense of social or moral responsibility due to mental illness. They don't want to be socially responsible, or they don't want to be entrusted with, moral responsibility. So, yun yung characterize nila, yung characteristic nila. We have also psychopath. A psychopath has yung personality disorder characterized by antisocial behavior, indifference to immorality, and abnormal changes to in mood and or activity. Yung psychopath is yung tinatawag din ng classic manipulator or con artist. There is a literature, again a novel that I have read about this, and it says there that psychopathy causes sociopathy, no? So if you're living with a psychopath, you tend to develop sociopathy, na kung saan ang characteristic kasi ni psychopath is that he is a manipulator, no? Papasunurin at papasunurin ka sa lahat ng gusto niya. Lahat ng yung gusto niya lang, yung gusto niyang mangyari. So kailangan mong mag-conform doon sa gusto niyang gawin. So most of the serial killers, most of the uh, infamous criminals usually has that uh, psychopathy, no? Psychopathy. So they're not really insane. They're actually smart, and they are charismatic, but then they have that problem wherein they don't feel remorse, they don't have conscience, and so on, which why they are a classic manipulator, no? Papasunurin ka lang, I mean paglalaruan ka lang, and so on. And yung mga tao kasi, may mga tao na gustong makisama sa kanila, gusto silang samahan or damayan, which will later on magde-develop din silang tinatawag nating sociopathy, wherein that is because of their interaction to individuals who have psychopaths. So that's what some other literature says about this, no? So it can be true, no? Anyway, this is on psychology, no? It can be true or it can be wrong. However, we must look into this as a types of a dangerous personality disorder, kasi when it comes to sociopathy and psychopathy, they are disregarding yung morality, no? Social morality, which means that they don't have any respect to what we believe, like for example, respect for life. We don't, the most foundation of morality na kung saan is we don't steal. Why? Because that is inherently wrong, mali yun. But for them, there's nothing as such na wala silang pinaniniwalaan na masama yun or so. If it will benefit them more, then they will try to commit it. So that's how they are being characterized. I think with regards to different disorders that we discuss, they are most dangerous type, and we should look upon them kasi nga most of criminals has this type of personality, no? The problem is they're very intellectual, charismatic, and they don't have feeling of remorse. So I think it's a bad combination. Okay, so that's it for with regards to the different types of abnormal behavior. We haven't included the sexual deviancy. We're going to be discussing that on the part 3 of this lecture. Okay, so I do hope you learned something. If you have questions relative to this, if you have additional input or comments relative to this, feel free to comment that down on the comment section. So that's it for today, guys. See you on the next lecture. Thank you and have a good day.